Welcome back, folks. Homeland Security. A new report shows over 350 languages are now spoken in the United States, and they say we have no diversity. President Obama is set to release over 6,000 inmates onto the streets of America. That should go well. And Dr. Michael Savage likens the Black Lives Matter group to Hitler's brown shirts. We talked about this off the air. I hate to keep bringing up Germany and Hitler, but it seems to be a common theme running through the news in the world right now.
True.
Do you see a correlation to the Occupy Wall Street, Black Lives Matter, all these little groups that seem to be popping up out of nowhere, but they're funded very well, to the brown shirts of Germany?
No. The situation was totally different. Germany was brought to their knees in the First War. They were humiliated. They were denuded of any benefits. The country went from being a solid, powerful, overbearing country in Central Europe to being a beggar country. And the people were desperately looking for a leader. First, they thought they would get it from the military. The military had a golden opportunity, but they lost that chance. So the thugs on the street, you see, the military protected them because they thought that they were so bad that
the brown shirts were the thugs on the street.
Yes, the brown shirts, what they called the Sturmabteilung, SA. And they were totally out of control. They were like 3 million. And the head of them was a guy by the name of Ernest Röhm, who was a friend of Hitler during the war. Hitler made a deal with Marshal Blomberg, who was head of the military. Blomberg said, "We will not support you, Adolf, if you allowed Röhm and his thugs to continue to take over Germany. We want to be the force to give it order and discipline." So Hitler said, okay. So he had a bunch of the top Nazis murdered. He lured them into a vacation down near Munich. Several thousand went there. They were all murdered. But what Marshal Blomberg didn't realize, Hitler had the SS in formation. They were much worse than the brown. The brown shirts were a bunch of slobs who were just killing for the sake of killing. The SS were a bunch of formal killers whose job it was to kill every Jew they could get their hands on, and every gypsy, and everybody, every malformed human being. They were going to get rid of anybody that didn't fit the Aryan image.
That's a very shocking story. You lived through it, correct?
Yes, and I made this admission many times. I never wanted to be a victim, so I became part of the youth group in Germany. But by doing so, I really learned to understand it and know what it was. It was much more evil, much more horrible, much more ferocious than anybody would think a civilized people could. It was like the Boko Haram in Nigeria. These people murdered just for the sake of murdering.
Yeah.
That's why when they killed 6 million Jews, they also killed about 5 million other people. And if you didn't fit, they were. You know, there was no criminality in Germany during the Second War, meaning the kind of criminality which we know that somebody steals something or a murder, because everybody was terrorized.
Speaking of criminals, the president is set to release 6,600 prisoners from jail. Under the guise that these are just low-level drug offense people, but a lot of them pleaded down. So they could have been actually captured or arrested for something much, much worse.
Of course.
So how does this help the country at this time?
It absolutely undercuts this country more than ever. It makes us more of an anarchy. You're talking about Germany being an anarchy. I think there's much more chance of America becoming an anarchy than Germany.
And when you release that many prisoners, and when you're releasing federal felons that shouldn't even be in the country to begin with, you're flooding the country with undesirables. It can't make the country safer.
Well, not only that, though, what shocks me and disgusts me and disgraces me is the fact that we have these sanctuary cities. I mean, I've never heard of this in a civilized country where you bring the people that want to take you down and put them in a position to do so.
So what we should do is we should form our own sanctuary cities where people like us can live, and we can keep all the undesirables out. We just have to have our own type of situation.
That's what you call a total disintegration of a civilized society.
And that's probably where we're headed. We have over 350 different languages being spoken in this country. And they want to tell us and lecture us about how we're not diverse and we don't have diversity and all this other crap.
You know, there's one objective also, that they want these people to vote.
Yes.
And I'm not making this as a statement of it. People can twist it any way they want to. But, you know, I think the basic living together of people in the United States ever since the civil rights legislation being passed under the Johnson administration, I think for a long time this was a good thing. It really, we had good leadership and things were going forward. But now it seems to be an urge to take every racial group and make them feel that they should go out and do what is in their best interest, not in what is in America's best interest. So we've got a basic society today where you're talking about Black Lives Matter, that is, all the lives matter. And it's like saying, and it's like the war on the police. I mean, that's all part of this. This is getting people a lot of people who are ignorant to say, the police are out to get you, so you better get them before they can get you.
Well, and I think that it's more correct to say liberal lives matter, because those same people that say Black Lives Matter will go after Ben Carson, will go after Mia Love, will go after
True.
Ted Cruz, will go after anyone that's not a liberal. If you're a woman, Carly Fiorina, they're talking about how her face is a Halloween costume. So it really has nothing to do with race. It has to do with political correctness and where you stand politically. So really, liberal lives matter. Black lives don't matter.
No, I see a lot of things here that I saw in Germany, because there's a German word called Ordnung, which means it's the ultimate order. Every element in the society isn't that they are frozen in that situation, but they basically fulfill their objectives within a framework that they feel comfortable with. What we've got now is we have I said to you, there's a much better chance of an anarchy here in the United States than in Germany. I think basically the German sense of discipline will still somehow survive. I see more and more in this country, unless we have a major change in government in the election next year at the top. See, nobody realized how much somebody can take the presidency and make out of it a total dictatorship, because the Constitution is unimportant to this leader right now.
Yeah, it's how do I get around the Constitution?
Absolutely.
And I do think you're right. The anarchy here, when you've got this many segments, this many different people, this many different racial makeups, it's easy to get them all stirred up, and that's exactly what this guy's doing.
That's right. Propaganda.